Getting injured while playing football is almost inevitable. With strong, large bodies moving around the field at an otherworldly pace, it only makes sense that players get hurt every game. But perhaps the worst way to get injured is when it is the playing surface that delivers the blow, rather than an actual player. In Week 1 of the 2022 NFL season, many players were injured as a result of the bad state of the fields. In the Meadowlands, a good number of Baltimore Raven players were lost for the season. In Chicago, players were seen splashing through puddles in their attempts to score. That isn't all. Out west at the State Farm Stadium, Kansas City Chiefs coach Andy Reid blamed the new turf for 2 injuries to his players. So in light of that, I've made this video to discuss the worst field to play on this season in the NFL. Here are some of the best contenders. Number 1. FedEx Field, the home of the Washington Commanders. According to USA Today, FedEx Field is the worst stadium in the NFL, but it is common knowledge of how bad this field really is. It doesn't help that the Washington Commanders have never won a playoff game there. As if things couldn't get worse, Week 1 at the FedEx Field got off to a roaring start. A sewage pipe burst on fans early in the loss to the Los Angeles Chargers, spilling questionable liquid on the fans and the turf. That sums up the experience of going to the stadium, and the low standard is seen on the turf as well. The design is hardly average, and every November, the field is usually closer to a dirt patch than anything tallying with grass. Well, after some popular injuries on this field, from Robert Griffin III in 2013 to Joe Burrow in 2020, Washington decided to completely rebuild the playing surface before the 2021 NFL season. The new surface includes grass especially made from the stadium and was grown in North Carolina. Since then, the complaints have not been as much, but there have still been some hiccups since the new grass was set, notably with Chase Young tearing his ACL there last season. But the injuries for now haven't been quite as frequent. While the playing field has improved, it goes without saying that the stadium still needs to catch up. Well, the only way for that to happen is for its owner Dan Snyder to have a new one built. However, given his propensity for change, that will take a decade at least. Soldier Field, home of the Chicago Bears. Soldier Field's playing surface has been considered one of the worst in the NFL for a long time. Being the oldest stadium in the NFL, it is fair to say that the lack of modernity of the field has caught up with it. Back in 2013, former kicker Robbie Gould made some comments about the terrible conditions in an interview. He said, "This year, our field has been really bad. It's been torn up. There have actually been some places on the field where some portions of it have actually sunk to a new low level, and the other sports are high. But it's been really interesting to watch this year how bad our field has really been. I know we have talked about this every single year. Can we please get somebody in there to watch a news report?" Well, things haven't gotten any better in the past few years, but the franchise is now looking into finding a new home for the Chicago Bears. But this time, in Arlington Heights, ahead of the Bears' home opener this season, the field was replaced with Bermuda-style grass. Then what happened next showed how much further the franchise needed to go with the repairs. A rainstorm soaked the field and left puddles all over for the Bears and visiting 49ers to slide through. While Chicago is making progress towards building a new stadium, it is slow. If you're a fan of the Bears, you'd certainly miss the iconic stadium, which has formed a piece of NFL history. However, change is necessary. Number 3. MetLife Stadium, New York Giants and Jets. MetLife Stadium is the home of the New York Giants and the New York Jets, and perhaps it is the overuse that has worsened its state. Having opened in 2010, it boasts of the largest NFL stadium capacity at 82,500, but that's really all that could be boasted about it. For several years now, the MetLife Stadium has made a reputation as being dangerous for visiting players. Due to that reputation, the NFL examined the field in 2020 but found nothing wrong. Well, not so sure. Arik Armstead, after suffering his share of injuries, talked to reporters about the state of the playing surface. Guys seem to be getting stuck in the ground more than regularly. A bunch of our players went down. It wasn't really fun to be a part of and see happen to your teammates. Several years ago, because of the condition of the turf, the 49ers lost Solomon Thomas and Nick Bosa to season-ending injuries. Then in Week 1 of this new season, the Ravens lost 2 of their players, Jawan James and Kyle Fuller, to season-ending blows. It may be time for the NFL to re-examine this field in the wake of the latest round of injuries. Number 4. Highmark Stadium, Buffalo Bills. Credit to the Bills Mafia for making the stadium fun. When you look at the videos of fans partying, it's easy to think that it is a nice place to be. Blame that on the goggles and beers, because this 46-year-old field is an aging dinosaur. Even worse, the weather makes this place miserable, and there's hardly anything around to make things better. Being the only field using an A-turf Titan infill artificial system, it hasn't given this system a good reputation around the league. It is tough to tell if the cold weather in Buffalo is what makes it so bad, or if this style of artificial turf just doesn't have the same reliability as the rest of the league. Well, it is good news that the Bills franchise is making plans for a new stadium in Orchard Park, which is expected to be completed in the next 5 years. Number 5. NRG Stadium, Houston, Texas. The best way to describe the NRG Stadium would be exceptionally average. One can't deny that it has a retractable roof, solid aesthetics, and gets loud from the cheers of fans when it is closed. However, the bad pitch is one issue that draws it back. While the NRG Stadium has natural gas and warm weather, it still manages to have one of the worst fields. Where it actually fails is in its foundation. This heavily used stadium was built with a removable field. All the natural grass is put in trays outside behind the old Astrodome and only gets bought in and assembled for NFL games. This system of assembling has created an uneven footing between the trays, leading to major injuries for Wes Walker, Jadeveon Clowney, and several others. The tray system has gotten so bad that the Texans announced that it switched to artificial turf. But even a tray system of artificial turf still hasn't solved all the problems in Houston. Number 6. The Acrisure Stadium, Pittsburgh Steelers. Formerly called Heinz Field, the organization that bought this place deserved the mockery they got due to the standards. The money wasn't used to make renovations, and the standard of the great Heinz Field Stadium continued to diminish. This stadium is the source of too many formal complaints, as NFL teams have been displeased by the conditions of the field. Funny enough, one of the teams to complain was the Oakland Raiders. Well, it's a good thing that there have started to be some changes. The past woes of Pittsburgh, waterlogging fields, and near dirt has changed with a renewed focus on natural grass. Having used the Grassmaster system, the Pittsburgh Steelers were not able to replace sod midway through a season, leading to tough conditions later on in the seasons. Resodding is often necessary for cool weather climates, but since changing to an all-natural Kentucky bluegrass, the Steelers can now replace the field multiple times and improve their turf conditions throughout the season. Number 7. Paycor Stadium, Cincinnati Bengals. Formerly named the Paul Brown Stadium, Paycor Stadium is the cheapest football stadium in the NFL, and one of the worst too. While there are some nice things about this place, like the view of downtown, it nonetheless has a lot of faults. Perhaps it is the stadium with the most varied past in the NFL. The grass that was in place from the stadium's opening until 2003 was replaced by field turf, and then in 2012, it switched to Ubu Speed Series S5M synthetic turf. While it seems to have made improvements, it is still not there yet. And those are the 7 worst fields to play on in this season of the NFL. What stadiums do you think should be on the list? Let us know in the comments. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. That's all for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell.